It doesn't matter whether you're buying directly from Pottery Barn or you're trying to achieve the look using other stores. If you don't know these secrets, you're not going to be able to achieve the look. But don't worry, I'm going to spill all of the trade secrets in today's video. And of course, I'm saving the very best for last. Hello, my name is KB and I'm your expert in smart shopping and timeless style. And I would love it if you smash that subscribe video because I have videos just like this one every Monday and Friday. And I'd love to have you as a member of our community. Now, just so you know, today's video is all about the living room. And if you end up liking this one, let me know down in the comments and I'll make a part 2 about the bedroom, kitchen, and so forth. But the first Pottery Barn decorated secret you need to know has to do with the orientation of your furniture. If you're trying to achieve the Pottery Barn look, it's all about orienting the furniture towards one another. A lot of the times people orient their furniture towards the TV or towards a window. At Pottery Barn, it's all about fostering communication, fostering family, and just like spending time together. So when we are putting our seating in a room, we're really just thinking about, are those chairs facing the sofa? Are those sofas facing one another? Is it love seat position so that someone sitting elsewhere in the room can talk to that person? And this is not just because we don't want the TV to be front and center of the catalog. There are still TVs in their designs, in their catalogs and things like that, but it's about interacting with one another first and also having television or something like that. This allows for your seating arrangement and your art and things like that to be the focal point of the room and not your television. But of course, they will strategically place those as well so that you don't have to sacrifice entertainment for socialization. Something else Pottery Barn always does is that they mix and match their upholstery. So if you look through the catalog, if you go into the store, you will notice two things. One, you will have an upholstered item with another upholstered item, but that second upholstered item will be a different color. So they'll pull a color out of a rug, out of a piece of artwork, out of like the landscape, or they will have an upholstered item and an item that is made of leather. Leather is huge in the Pottery Barn style because the style is not only timeless, but it's also relaxed and a little bit coastal. And it also has a little bit of like an industrial edge to it as well. And that's where that leather really comes in. So we're always going to see a touch of leather in any Pottery Barn look, but if we've got an upholstered sofa, we're either going to have a leather chair, a leather ottoman, or we're going to have an upholstered item that's of a different color. They will rarely, if ever, have all white furniture or all cream furniture. They do like to play with colors a lot more than maybe you'd see at a Crate and Barrel or Restoration Hardware. And as we move through today's video, not only am I showing you inspiration from Pottery Barn itself, but I'm using my design software to build out this room and show you how these different things really make an impact. Now that we're moving on from upholstery, something else Pottery Barn does that I absolutely love is that they use the rug as the backdrop. So in a lot of interior design styles, a rug will be a statement piece. It will be a piece of art on the floor. It will really enhance the interior design style, elevate it even. You see that a lot in contemporary and modern designs because the furniture is a little bit more basic and we're looking for something that's like a big, bold pop, but not with this Pottery Barn aesthetic. Instead, we're using those rugs more so as unifiers. You're seeing a lot of solid colors, faded oriental rugs, very toned down items that are just pulling the most commonly used colors in the room all together so that it feels really nice and united. And of course, we're having all of our legs of our furniture on top or at least touching that rug so that we're following all those basic interior design rules. Something else they do with rugs, and this is a great way to save money, is to layer rugs. So oftentimes really big rugs are expensive, but jute rugs tend to be cheaper because they can be outdoor indoor rugs, and outdoor rugs are way cheaper. So they'll get a big jute rug, maybe not that warm jute you're used to, but maybe a cream jute or a navy jute, and they'll layer a faded oriental rug or an oriental rug or a faded abstract rug on top of it. You get to save on that abstract rug because maybe you're just getting a 5x8 as opposed to a 10x14. Then you've got that big jute rug, and a lot of the times this combo ends up being cheaper than that big one statement piece, though that isn't always the case. So we're layering lots of rugs, and we're also just going to see layering in general in this interior design style because we want a layered lived-in look. This is not all about having one pillow and one decorative accent. We're going to see layers and layers and layers, and I'm going to talk about that more, don't worry. The next thing I want to talk about when it comes to layers though is the pillow. And there's so many pillow secrets and hacks they do at Pottery Barn, and this one is one of my favorites. Something that Pottery Barn does is they cheat their pillows out. What does that mean? So instead of your pillow sitting directly upright, they will just like lean it back so it's kind of relaxing a little bit. the pillow is lounging in your living room, if you will. It is a subtle difference that just shows off more of the design and say, hey, this is a more relaxed style. Something else they do is they double stuff their inserts. So you will never see a floppy pillow at Pottery Barn. Even if it's down, even if it's filled with those feathers, it will be nice and full so that you can see every single edge, every single corner of those pillow covers to really reify the look and really sell that design. But they're cheated backwards and they're cheated out so that you can really truly see that display. Another thing Pottery Barn does with their pillows that you might not have seen before is their layering. So they're always going to have their pillows layered. You're going to see a different color, a different pattern, or something on every pillow. Now, something they don't do is they don't necessarily mix up the sizes like other brands. A brand like Restoration Hardware, you will almost always see a square pillow and a lumbar pillow paired together. That's not always the case with Pottery Barn. You will see maybe a 20 by 20, a 20 by 20, a 22 by 22, and a lumbar as well. But you might see two of the same pillow in terms of size, but of course they have different textures and different patterns. But you're going to see a lot of block print, a lot of floral, a lot of pattern. You're going to see a lot of plaid. You're going to see a lot of texture as well. So you're going to see the boucle and the flannel and the linen. You're going to see a lot of mixing and matching of that, but per corner, it's going to be very rare that any pillow repeats anything. You're going to see different colors, different patterns, different textures. Now you might get that exact same pillow arrangement on the other side, but you're not going to see repeats on the same size. And Pottery Barn, they want you to sit all over those pillows. There's often only maybe one seat that is pillow free. So that's why it's really important that you're using pillows that have give so that you can sit on top of them instead of having to move them out of the way. Now we've talked about pillows on the sofa, but what about on those accent chairs? That is when we're going to see another repeat. So we're going to bring a color that's over on the sofa over onto those chairs. So in this case, I brought that linen pillow cover that was over on the sofas onto the chairs, and you can do a lumbar, but Pottery Barn often does a square. To be honest, as a stylist myself, I probably wouldn't do that. I would use a lumbar so that you really don't have to move that pillow and it will support your lumbar spine, but they tend to do the square. So you can really do what works for you and what is most realistic. Now, as we're looking at all of these beautiful rooms from Pottery Barn, in this room I'm crafting, you will see there's a lot of symmetry. So Pottery Barn loves symmetry. You're going to see symmetry, symmetry, symmetry. You're going to see the same thing many, many times, but there's always going to be one thing that throws it off. I wouldn't quite say it's asymmetrical balance because it's normally only one or two things. It's not something occupying the same amount of space, but being totally different. But you're going to see maybe two bookcases styled, and then maybe one might have like a fun lamp on it or something like that. But for the most part, it's going to be very, very, very symmetrical. Now, a fun way we're going to have asymmetrical balance in the room we're crafting though is going to be with like our lamp and our tree, but we're going for symmetry on the whole here. In my opinion, asymmetrical balance is always your friend, but if you want to do straight symmetry, again, just make sure you have that little bit of a pop to elevate the space. Now, we talked a little about layering earlier when we were talking about pillows and rugs, but let's talk about artwork. At Pottery Barn, I would say that layering artwork is a must. It's probably the most important thing I'm going to share today, and I think they started this trend. Whether it's over a fireplace, whether it's on a console, whether it's on a dresser, you're going to see layered artwork. So you're going to see a statement piece, whether that's a mirror or it's a piece of art, and then you're going to have more frames layered on top of it. Don't just layer vertical frames, explore with horizontal, vertical frames, asymmetrical frames, or like irregularly shaped frames. Have fun with vases and things like that, but we're going to layer in front of. So we're always going to have a statement piece, and then we're going to have smaller layered items. Now with those layered items, you want those taller items to be on the periphery, and you want to slope them down into the center so that we're not totally obscuring that statement piece. It's still the star of the show. And all of the pieces that I'm using to layer in this space are actually ones that I've linked down below. These are real art pieces, and what I like to do when trying to achieve that Pottery Barn look is I try to stick to vintage inspired pieces. So I either get like a vintage sketch that's a little bit faded, that's just black and white, or more so like cream and white, and then I have landscapes, but more so abstract landscapes, because Pottery Barn isn't strict traditional. They're like a transitional, really. So we have to have that little ode to the abstract. I actually found this artist on Etsy that does artwork that's very similar to Kadir Boli, but it is more so based on like animals and less so like a particular herd of animals in Burkina Faso. So if you've been wanting to get that look in like a printable capacity, I've linked that one down below, and that's what I use with this console here, and I think that looks really, really beautiful. The next way you're going to totally master that Pottery Barn look is to anchor your space with lighting. So with Pottery Barn style, we're gonna have a lot of lighting. We're gonna have sconces, we're gonna have task lamps, we're gonna have picture lights, we're gonna have the whole 9 yards. Anywhere we can get lighting, we're gonna add lighting. And these designs naturally have a lot of natural light. They have chandeliers, but obviously if a chandelier natural light isn't possible for you, don't do that. And of course, if we have the natural light, we're gonna frame them out with curtains. They're not super partial to other types of window coverings or window treatments, but that's okay. We're gonna go high and wide with our curtains. We're gonna keep them cream or taupe. We're gonna do a linen or a cotton or a velvet, and we're gonna be good to go there. But we do wanna anchor our space with the lighting, but they're very repetitive in terms of their lighting at Pottery Barn. If they use one style of shade, you will see that shade repeated in a space. If you see them using one type of metal for their lighting, you will see that type of metal repeated in a space. And it's not just to sell a collection, you will actually just see this in general with their design. There is a lot of repetition with the lighting, so you kind of want to do that in your own home as well. So stick to a metal and kind of run with it, unless there's something that you really love that is an outlier. But in terms of metals at Pottery Barn, they're super partial to black. Black is probably their statement metal, just because they used to lean a little bit more modern farmhouse when that was a little bit more popular. But they also have a lot of gold and silver now as well. So you can do whatever, but black is always your friend. So you'll see in this room I created, of course we have this tripod lamp in the corner, but we also have these sconces on either side of the art that have the same type of shade. The lamp that is on this console table also has the same type of shade. So we're having a lot of repetition, and maybe not repetition in terms of the color, but at least with that shade. Another thing every Pottery Barn space has is greenery. Whether it's real or faux, there is greenery everywhere. You always want to have one tree, at least one tree. They said probably make it 2. You also want to have greenery on your coffee table and then in one other place. So that could be a console table, that could be on your mantle, that can be on your media console, but you want to have greenery probably 3 places. I probably wouldn't repeat the exact same type of greenery, but in the corner maybe you have a fiddly fig. On your coffee table maybe you have some faux olive stems, and then on your console table maybe you have fresh flowers. It doesn't have to be all the same thing over and over again, but you want an ode to the outdoors, because again, they're always trying to bring the outdoors indoors, not only with their color palettes, which we see through their use of blue and green and yellow, but we also see it with their grand windows that they put in every catalog. They don't just do that because the windows look good, they do that because they're trying to kind of blend the outdoors with the indoors. So we want to emulate that to the very best of our ability. When we were putting our greenery in vases and planters, we want to lean more rustic. So the terracotta, the travertine, those warmer colors, so the reds, the rusts, the creams, that's what we want to gravitate towards. We're not going to do the black, we're not going to do the gray, and we want it to be almost urn-like in shape. I know that maybe sounds grim, but that is kind of their statement shape, and what I would like to see in your home if you're trying to achieve this look. And of course, all the items that I'm actually showing in my mock-up, I have sourced the real products, so you can actually click the links down in my description box to shop them all. And I've also included other items from Pottery Barn and other stores that I think are going to be really crucial and helping you kind of tick out all of these boxes. So just click the links in my description box if you want to shop. In my own home, I like to have a faux olive tree, I have olive branches, I have faux peonies, faux hydrangeas, and then I like to go to Trader Joe's maybe every 2 weeks or so. It's not something I do super regularly quite yet, and I'll make a little floral arrangement so I have at least one real thing in my home. Another thing Pottery Barn always does with their styling is follow the rule of 3. You're always going to see groupings of 3. I've talked about this rule before, so I won't reiterate it again, but whether it's your console, whether it's this, whether it's that, it's going to be a grouping of 3, or we're just going to have one item by itself. But they rarely, if ever, have one item by itself. So it is not a maximal design style, but it's kind of in the middle between minimalism and maximalism. Things are very much so curated, and there are a lot more things than you might have, again, in an aesthetic quite like mine. Another thing you often see in the Pottery Barn aesthetic is the use of wood. So in this style, you always want to have wooden items. So of course we have the black metal, as we said before, but we want to have wood, and we want to have those lighter wood tones. So we're going to have ones that have a lot more warmth to them and not too much red. So be really selective when choosing your wood. And you don't want to use all the same wood tone in your entire space. That's going to get really repetitive, really redundant, and not great. Instead, we want to do different shades of a wood tone. So different shades. So we might go a little bit darker or a little bit lighter, but we're not going to mess with the redness of that wood and the greatness of that wood. We're just going to kind of go darker, but we're gonna stick to the warm end. That might have not have made any sense, but you'll see that in my mock-up here, and you'll see it as I kind of highlight that in all of the different photos. Next, I want to talk about coffee table styling. So with Pottery Barn, they don't always follow the coffee table rules I talk about. They tend to stick to square and rectangular coffee tables, and that's totally fine. And we want to have a very styled coffee table with this aesthetic. So as I said, we're following the rule of 3, but in this design style, it's best to have a tiered coffee table so that you can have decor on top, but you can also have functional items down below as well. So you can pull them up and like rearrange and things like that so that it's super functional. Last but certainly not least, the most important thing in achieving the Pottery Barn aesthetic has to do with setting the tone. So we're gonna set the tone in a multitude of ways. One, we're gonna do it with the texture, which we've already talked about, but 2, we're gonna do it with the lighting. We're gonna have overhead lighting, but we're not only gonna have all those lamps I told you about, and that's about 3 different lamps in addition to the chandelier, but we're also gonna have candles. Candles really dominate the Pottery Barn design style. So hurricane candles, pillar candles, it doesn't matter. You can turn your favorite vessel into a candle with that pearled sand. It does not matter. You want to have candles galore. And with that, we also want to cater to the olfactory. As I always say, we want to make sure it smells good. So whether that's with potpourri, whether that's with a simmer pot, candles, diffuser oils. I like to use Essence Lab diffuser oils. They're a lot more affordable than other brands, and they smell just like the designer brands. I love to use agape candles. I will share all of my favorite ones down in the description box, but you definitely want to have a uniform scent and almost an overpowering scent with this design style, because scent is very crucial to achieving that full look. But now you know all of the Pottery Barn decorating secrets, and dare I say, my ones for the bedroom were even better. So let me know down in the comments if you want to see that version. If you liked today's video, please consider smashing that subscribe button, because I love making content and I love finding you high quality pieces and giving you the very best shopping tips. And if you want to know more, just smash that subscribe button. But until next time, have a beautiful day.